Now this is what they call sarking, and it's a membrane layer that goes under a tile roof. And the reason for it is that it's reflective and it gives you some heat insulation into a roof cavity. The main reason is you've got tiles sitting on top, and tiles would leak every now and then due to either broken tile or faulty tile, tile's been too low, various reasons. So you get water that leaks past the tile, and the reason for the sarking is the water will drip onto the sarking and then it's going to run down all the way into the gutter. And then you don't see any water there. Very often, once a roof is laid, someone comes in and goes, I need to bring something out from the roof cavity onto the roof so I can hook it up to something that's on the roof. Usually an electrician will come in and go, okay, we'll cut a hole there. Cuts a hole, brings their wire or whatever they need, comes out, past the roof, and they do their stuff. And what they would normally do is just leave it as it is and just leave a hole in the sarking. Usually it's all right, but then if you ever get a leak upstream of the hole, then you start to see a leak in your ceiling right beneath where the hole is. So what do you do if someone's cut a hole in your sarking, or your sarking's a bit old and it's actually developed a hole? This is where sarking tape comes in. There's tape that's specifically developed, and it's for joining reflective fall insulation. Just that. Sticky edge right underneath, and then paper. Right. And you can see here we've actually put tape over the joint. So if that's your piece of tape, what you do is you peel off the backing, make sure this is nice and clean, and then you go straight over. It's really sticky, right? And if this is nice and clean and it's sound, then it'll actually keep the water out from the joint. Now the question is that the perfect solution? It works reasonably well when you've got fairly new sarking and the hole is relatively small. But if the sarking's old, what you have is all that dust over the years just cannot be taken off the sarking anymore. And you're trying to stick the tape onto a dirty piece of sarking. And that almost always never works. So here's some examples where we've sent people out, we've given them some sarking tape, and we said, can you repair the sarking? And this is the result. And the roofer who's been given the job to repair the sarking is fighting a losing battle because the sarking's old and it's dirty, and as a result the sarking tape doesn't stick that well. Besides, there's a little bit more to repairing torn sarking than just slapping a bit of tape on. Tape that doesn't stick will release itself, and then the water gets in under the tape and you're no better off. So what do you do when you have a hole and the sarking tape is not going to be the solution? You can put a bit of sarking over the hole. Now here's a job where we sent someone out. There was a hole in the sarking, and the scope of work was to put a patch, a piece of sarking over the hole so that the hole no longer lets in any water. Seems like a simple task, And this is what we finally ended up with. Now, is this the right way to patch sarking? Fundamentally, there's something wrong with this job. The correct way to put a patch over a hole on sarking is to find where the lap joint is. Then you have to remove the battens so that you can slip a bit of sarking under the lap joint past where the hole in the sarking is. That will then guarantee that water that comes down the sarking will continue over the lap joint onto the patch and continue down into the gutter and not leak into the roof. There's a little bit of a trick that we also need to do, and that is at the edge, the side edge of the patch that we've put in, it's folded back. So when water does get onto the patch, it does not go over the edge of the patch, siphon underneath and go in the hole, because the fold will catch the water and funnel it downstream onto the rest of the sarking and into the gutter. So this is the way that you should repair a hole that's been cut into sarking. So when you go out on a job, you should have two things: a roll of sarking tape and spare sarking, because often the correct way to patch a hole in sarking is to put a bit of new sarking in, and the new sarking's got to be put in correctly. If it's a small hole and the sarking's quite new, you can get away with sarking tape. Sarking tape is only useful when the sarking's clean and the hole is small. It's also good for taping the new sarking onto the old sarking to hold it in place, but not to be used as a waterproof barrier. So if you have to patch a hole in sarking, you got to do it properly.